It is my happy task to introduce to you today and now our speaker, our friend and colleague, Dr. Burton Visotzky, who is the Appleman Professor of Midrash and Interreligious Studies at the Jewish Theological Seminary. Burt joined JTS in 1997 upon ordination as rabbi, also in 1997. I invite you to read much more about Burt in your program. There you will discover that not only is he a prolific academic author, but also he writes novels, that he is involved in a wide range of boards and participates and leads a wide range of interfaith projects, workshops, and dialogues, both here and abroad. I think I first met Burt through Ingrid Mattson, perhaps as the two of them began working on the multi-year workshop entitled Judaism and Islam in America, organized by JTS, the Islamic Society of North America, and Hartford Seminary, and funded by the Carnegie Foundation. Burt is and has been a good friend and supporter of Hartford Seminary and the kind of interfaith education we engage in here. Indeed, with Burt, we have developed a significant cooperative program between JTS and Hartford Seminary, which facilitates JTS students taking courses and participating in life here at Hartford Seminary. And who knows, in the future, perhaps HeartSim students will be taking courses at JTS as well. And actually, some of our students already do, because they do their CPE there. Little did I know, and Burt and I talked about this before the ceremony began, when we were developing this program, that Hartford Seminary and the Jewish Theological Seminary have a relationship that extends at least as far back as 1937. For it was in 1937 when Duncan Black MacDonald, to whom I referred earlier, was granted an honorary doctorate in Hebrew letters by none other than JTS. Finally, just let me say that Burt is a person that one looks forward to seeing. Not only is he brilliant, but he has a kind and generous spirit, abounding energy, and a great sense of humor. Burt, we have indeed been looking forward to seeing you here. Thank you for being with us.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yilagomenos, ho'erchomenos en enomatai kariu. Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, berachnuchem mibeit Adonai. President Hadsel, members of the Board of Trustees, Hartford Seminary faculty and administration, students and friends of Hartford Seminary, and most of all, the 2013 graduating class of Hartford Seminary, your families and guests. Blessed are you who come in the name of the Lord. May God bless all assembled in this divine gathering. I offer blessings also to a beloved colleague who is absent today, now far away in Ontario, Canada, yet always close in our hearts, Professor Ingrid Mattson, who gave last year's commencement address and was so instrumental in making this seminary the exceptional institution of interreligious education that it is today. It is with a deep sense of humility and honor that I offer you these words on the occasion of Hartford Seminary's commencement. Hartford was, if I have my history correct, originally conceived in 1833. 80 years later, in 1913, the three separate schools of Christian theology, mission, and education unified. The seminary became an interdenominational Christian school in 72-73, and then became interreligious in 1991, when a Muslim was first appointed to its faculty. A century after the relationships of Christianity and Islam began here. Indeed, this coming Sunday, as was mentioned, Hartford will celebrate the the 150th anniversary of Duncan Black MacDonald, who pioneered this study. He may have been a faculty member here, but we count him as an alumnus of the Jewish Theological Seminary. This Hartford Seminary has, of course, now a full-time Jewish faculty member as well. And here endeth the history lesson. I recite this multi-faith history because I am here today to applaud it and to lift it up as a beacon for today's graduates. Not only for the graduates, but for our beloved United States and for the world. Indeed, Hartford's global perspective is the vision of your president, Heidi Hetzel, who came here in 2000 from foreign climes as disparate as Florianopolis, Brazil, Paris, France, Bossy, Switzerland, and even Berkeley, California. I am especially grateful for the friendship that Ingrid and Heidi forged over the years among the Islamic Society of North America, Hartford Seminary, and my own home institution, the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, JTS. JTS has run 3 years of workshops with Hartford and ISNA on Judaism and Islam in America. We have indeed welcomed Hartford's chaplaincy students to study at the JTS Center for Pastoral Education, and I dare say nothing gives me greater pleasure than to sit in our kosher halal cafeteria and see covered Muslims sitting with our Jewish students. JTS students themselves have taken advantage of funding by the Prior Family Foundation to enroll for courses here at Hartford Seminary, and in particular in Professor Yechezkel Landau's now legendary Building Abrahamic Partnerships. For any one of these cooperative ventures, we would be grateful and say in Hebrew, Dayenu, it would have been enough. This is the word we sing during the Passover Seder, when we recount the many miracles God wrought for us throughout Jewish history. Had God but redeemed us from Egypt, Dayenu, it would have been enough. Had God only parted the Red Sea, Dayenu, it would have been enough. Had God but given us the Torah, Dayenu, it would have been enough. Had we but offered Judaism and Islam in America in partnership with ISNA and Hart Sem, Dayenu, it would have been enough. But God has truly blessed us in the Jewish community to not only have a magnificent partnership with Hartford, Dayenu, and with ISNA, Dayenu, but most of all that we are in this time, the year 2013 of the Common Era, and in this place, the United States of America, where our religious freedoms are guaranteed by the Constitution, by our American ethos, and by our history of standing shoulder to shoulder to watch out for one another. And for all of that we say, Dayenu. And yet, it's not enough. Graduates of 2013, I tell you this, you have lived the sometimes difficult miracle of multi-faith community here at Hartford Seminary. You have been trained to disagree with one another while showing love and respect. You have, inshallah, been schooled in that most difficult human task, learning to listen to one another. You have, Deo Volente, learned to actually see the other, not merely as a reflection or negation of yourself or your religion, but as a discrete thou. I'm here thinking of the philosopher Martin Buber's distinction between the dismissive I-it relationship versus the authentic relationship of I-thou. And you may well have learned to see the other, Im Yirtzeh Hashem, as a reflection of the God in whose image and likeness every one of us was fashioned. For all of this we say, Dayenu. And yet, it's not enough. I am sorry to say, as you so eagerly and earnestly prepare to leave these hallowed halls and pursue your careers of service, it's not enough, because there is so much, so very much more work to be done. The 2nd century rabbi Tarfon taught, the day is short, the work is abundant, yet the word is great, even as our master presses us to action. Rabbi Tarfon also taught, you are not required to complete the task, but neither are you or any one of us free to ignore it. What is this great work I speak of and charge you with today? It is the work of our democracy, the task of forming a more perfect union, of strengthening the fabric of the great quilt of race, ethnicity, religion, faith, sexual orientation, and gender identity that makes up America and, in fact, makes up the global village that is the world in which we all dwell. As the Holy Quran reminds us, among Allah's wonders is the creation of heavens and earth, and the diversity of tongues and colors. For this indeed there are signs for those who are possessed of knowledge. The Holy Quran says, O humanity, we have created you from a male and female, made you nations and tribes, that you may come to know one another. This work of embracing our diversity, of striving together in good works, is what the biblical book of Deuteronomy commands us. Quote, I call heaven and earth to witness to you. I have placed life and death before you, the blessing and the curse. Choose life, that you and your offspring might live to love the Lord and hearken to God's voice and cling to God, that God may be your life and the length of your days. I've often marveled how obvious this seems to be, so much so that one might ask, why might God even feel the need to command us to choose life and love of God? The sad but very real truth is that not everyone will line up to fulfill the Bible's mandate to love your neighbor as yourself. Alas, there are many who, in the name of their religion, teach hate of the other. So look around. Savor this moment. Embrace the diversity around you. One of the realities we face out there, and one that we seek to inoculate against, is this. Each of the three monotheistic Abrahamic religions has its share of teaching hate. It's not my place to do more here than merely mention that we all, Jew, Christian, and Muslim, we all have co-religionists in our history, and yes, even today, who still teach hate in God's name. And that's why it is so very important that we seek to replicate the interreligious dialogue, the multi-faith environment, the pluralistic embrace that Hartford Seminary so successfully models for the world. It will not be easy for you. There will be opposition to your work from outsiders, and even from within your own community. But to do God's work of loving one another, you must be strong and resolute. In synagogues around the world this week on Shabbat, we will read a story from the book of Numbers, chapter 13. Moses sends spies to explore the promised land. They come back and they report, well, there's good news and there's bad news. First, the good news. It is indeed a land flowing with milk and honey, just like God promised. Now the bad news, say the spies. We can't overcome them. They're stronger than us. They are giants. And, say the disheartened spies, I'm quoting now, we looked like grasshoppers to ourselves, and so we must have looked to them. You are going out into the land. You will meet opposition. They will oppose your message. But remember, you are graduates of Hartford Seminary. Do not, please, do not look like grasshoppers to yourselves. Do not be dismayed by opposition.
That's right.
The message you carry from here has power. The work you do is God's work. The love you teach will heal this broken world. When the spies despaired, 2 of their number, Joshua and Caleb, they were resolute. Let me share with you what Moses said to Joshua when he passed the mantle of leadership to him. He said, quote, "The Lord will go before you. God will be with you. God will not forsake you or fail you. Fear not, and be not dismayed." And Moses ends his charge to Joshua saying, "Be strong and resolute." I end my charge to you graduates today with a story, a vision to carry with you in your hearts. It stems directly from the work that Hartford Seminary professors Ingrid Mattson, Yechezkel Landau, and your esteemed president, Heidi Hadsel, had led me to over many years. For decades now, my wife Sandy and I have invited Christians to our home for our family's Passover Seder. And it was so this year as well. My designated Christians were Norwegian Lutherans. But this year, for the first time, after a very long and careful conversation regarding whether they would be offended if others at the table drink wine and whether they would drink grape juice, I invited a Muslim with whom I work very closely. He is the Director of Community Outreach for the Islamic Society of North America. He is from the Sudan. His wife is from Morocco, and their 3 children, ages 7, 2, and 8 months, are all born in the USA. The parents speak Arabic to the kids, and we were very excited not only to have Jews, Christians, and Muslims around the table, but to once again have young children at the Seder table. My own kids are now in their 20s and 30s. The 7-year-old, Nabil, hunted for the missing matzah, the afikomen, which has in fact been hidden by the master of the Seder for centuries now, precisely to keep the children occupied. The 8-month-old Jude happily ate her applesauce, while the 2-year-old did what 2-year-olds do. He squirmed in his seat. But after the liturgy, during the meal, at a moment of quiet around the table, 2-year-old Anas al-Sanusi began singing, all on his own, loud and clear, pitch perfect. Anas sang, "Die, die-enu, die, die-enu, die, die-enu, die-enu, die-enu." And for me, at that moment, when we celebrate our freedom, surrounded by family and friends, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, all together, I truly felt it. Dayenu. It was enough. I invite you now, graduates, faculty, board, friends, family, look around you on this glorious hot day. See the tapestry of America stretched before you. Christians, Muslims, Jews, and others. Let us be grateful for the miracle of multi-faith education that is Hartford Seminary, and say together, Dayenu. On this day, it is enough. Thank you, and God bless you.